Security and privacy are paramount, and the primary way that we secure our communications and ensure it is private is by encrypting our connections. For websites, we use SSL certificates, and they encrypt the data that is transmitted between the website and the end user. In the very recent past, SSL was seen as a necessity only for websites that worked with sensitive information. But today, we are focused on security and privacy. So therefore, every website, regardless of its content, should use SSL. Of course, there are many different places that you can get an SSL certificate. You can purchase one from GoDaddy, Network Solutions, Komodo, and many other certificate authorities. But then you can also get a free 90-day Acme certificate that Let's Encrypt, popularized a few years ago. But all of the options have flaws. For one, they're typically difficult to manage and renew, especially Acme certificates from Let's Encrypt. For another, traditional SSL certificates are expensive, especially if you need multiple certificates. But thankfully, we have ZeroSSL. Now, ZeroSSL is a subsidiary of API Layer, and if you're not familiar with API Layer, well, let's just say that they know how to build web applications. In fact, they have a lot of them, and they are all extremely fast, highly scalable, and they are all reasonably priced for the value that they provide. Now, of course, this is information for setting the background for ZeroSSL. This is a web-born and bred company that knows, well, let's just say the difficulty and hassle of obtaining, renewing, and maintaining SSL certificates. They started by offering free 90-day Acme certificates, but now they are a full-bore and bona fide certificate authority that also offers single domain, multi-domain, and even wildcard certificates. But what sets ZeroSSL apart is the backend, from the dead simple one-step domain validation or the management console that has a ton of features, or a RESTful API that you can use to integrate into your own systems to manage your certificates. Well, you won't find all of these features and capabilities in any other certificate authority. And quite frankly, you won't find a CA that is a better value, especially if you need a lot of certificates. Now, I can make that claim because I bought 2 certificates from a very well-known authority in the past 2 months, and there are more that I need to purchase, so this has been on my mind. I know what SSL certificates cost. So let's start with the free tier. This gives you 3 90-day certificates. Now you might think, well, I can get an unlimited amount of 90-day certificates from Let's Encrypt, and yes, you can. However, the real value comes from the management console, which is something that you're not going to get with Let's Encrypt. So for a lot of people, the free tier is going to be just fine because the 3 90-day certificates is going to cover what you need, and then you have the benefit of the management console, so that's great. However, if you need more, well, there's the basic tier, which gives you an unlimited amount of 90-day certificates. It gives you 3 one-year certificates, which can be a single domain or multiple domains, and then you also get access to the RESTful API. Now, this is intriguing because you can get a lot of mileage out of the one-year certificates, because if you need to secure a lot of domains, well, you have the multi-domain option, and it really all depends upon the limitation to the amount of domains that you can specify for a single certificate. However, I haven't found that limitation in the documentation, and as we go through the certificate creation experience, you're going to see that the UI doesn't really warn you of that. So there may be a very high limit here, but most other authorities give you 4 or 5 other domains that you can put on a single certificate, so you can get a lot of mileage out of the basic plan. However, if you need even more, well, there's the premium, which gives you unlimited 90-day. It gives you 10 one-year certificates, and then you get a 1-year wildcard. And once again, that's a ton of mileage, but then there's the business plan. And this is really what intrigues me, because ultimately this is probably what I would go for. because I need 3 wildcard certificates, and then having 25 one-year certificates would be very useful as well. And if you were going to add up what all of these different certificates would cost with other authorities, well, this is cheap, $80 a month. I cannot complain about that. And of course, if you need even more, well, there's the enterprise plan. You'll need to contact them so that they can tailor that just for you. So let's take a look at the creation experience. Now, if you don't already have an account, go ahead and create one. It's free to get started. Just enter your email address and a password, and you're going to be good to go. The dashboard is going to give you a lot of information at a glance. The first are going to be the status of your certificates. So if you have some that are expiring soon, it's going to show you that, hey, there are some that are expiring soon. So you can click there and you will get to see the list of those that you need to address. And you can see that it's doing that for some of these certificates. I have one that is in draft, which really I've done everything I've needed to do except validate the domain, which I'm kind of curious why it's in draft and not pending validation. I'm sure there's some kind of technical aspect to it. I don't know. There's one that is already issued, which we will take a look at here in a moment. But really what I want to do is create a new certificate. Now, do notice that you do get to see what your subscription is, or at least the certificates that are allowed for your subscription. So you can see that I have 2 out of 3 90-day certificates already used. So let's create a new certificate. And the first thing that we need to do is decide if we want a wildcard or if we don't. Because if we specify a wildcard, then we can only enter a single domain, because most wildcard certificates are for just a single domain. We just get an unlimited amount of subdomains for that domain. Let's not do that. Let's have a single domain to start with. So let's say that we want tutsplus.com. Now you're going to see that it's actually going to create a certificate for 2 domains, the naked tutsplus.com and then the www.tutsplus.com. So really the single domain certificates are really 2 domains. However, if you add another domain, it's going to take off the www and it's going to leave just the single domain. So in this case, let's go ahead and add in the tutsplus.com. And you might think, why would we do that? Well, because we're going to add another domain. Let's say that we want code.tutsplus.com. And then we also want to cover envato.com. Let's add the www for that. And this is 5 names here. And this is where many authorities would just max out and you wouldn't be able to add any more domains. However, if we click add domain, there's no error, there's no warning, there's nothing. So I assume that the UI is going to warn us whenever we reach whatever limit that is there. I haven't gotten to that limit because we're going to add codecanyon.net, which means we also need to add the www.codecanyon. Let's say that we have an app.envato.com. Let's also do an app.codecanyon.net. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's add a 10th. And let's make it tutsplus.envato.com. So that's 10 names on a single certificate. Let's try to add. Okay, it looks like it'll let us keep going here. So let's go to the next step, which is the validity period. Let's go with the 1-year certificate, which means that we would have to pay for this, which, by the amount of domains that we specified, we would have to pay for it anyway. Now, when it comes to the CSR, the certificate request, we could choose the auto generate, which is a nice little feature. But if we also wanted to input all of the information about the organization, department, city, state, all of that, then we can do that. If we need to paste in a CSR, we can do that as well. But let's be lazy and just auto-generate the CSR, and then we get to finalize the order with whatever plan that we want to use. Now we can see that premium is being selected here, but really we could get away with the basic in this case. But then we're being told that we need to adjust our certificate. and that the multi-domain 10 domains. So maybe this is where the UI is warning us that we've reached some kind of limit, and maybe we have to pare this down to maybe even 3. So let's try that. Let's adjust the certificate. We can't do 10. So let's pare this down to 5 names. Let's try that. Let's go to basic, and I have a feeling we're going to have to get to 3 names. So let's go back to domains. Let's pare this back down to 3, and let's see, basic is selected. So there is a limit, and it looks to be the same number as the 1-year certificates. So if you want a multi-domain cert, for the basic plan, you are limited to 3 names on that certificate. For the premium, it would be 10 names. For the business, it would be 25. And so on. And it looks like that would be maxing out that plan. So if you had a multi-domain cert with 3 names for basic, then you're done. You can't have any more 1-year certificates. And if you move on over, you're going to see that there are multiple plans. They're all based upon business. But the base business plan gives you 25 1-year certificates. If you need 40, then there's a business 40, there's a business 75 and 100, and it looks like it maxes out at 150. So that is the creation experience. Well, let's take a look at the experience for a certificate that is ready to go. So it has been created, it's been validated. This one was validated using DNS records. So the next logical step is to install that on the server. So of course we want to click on install and then download the certificate. And there's a list of formats that you can choose from. Now, as a Windows guy, I would like to see IIS listed here. However, I also know that there are some other types of certificates that I can use with IIS, so I could just pick that, download it, and then I would want to install that on the server. Now, it is possible to incorrectly configure your server to use a certificate. I'm raising my hand. I've been there, done that. So you always want to make sure that everything is ready to go, that you installed and configured everything correctly. So this check installation is, well, it's a time saver because you can manually go and check that. However, it can consume a little bit of your time, and here with just a single button click, it can tell you whether or not you did your job correctly. Now, of course, I don't have a web server, so this check failed, but it is still a very nice feature to have. So if you are in the market for one certificate or many certificates, then consider ZeroSSL. Their management tools are top-notch and make managing your certs a breeze. They not only provide free 90-day certificates, but they are a full-fledged certificate authority, and they can issue whatever cert you need at a very reasonable price.